Hey everyone, hope you're ready for another deep dive today because we're tackling an article you guys sent over actually from swing2sleep.com about rocking babies,
Oh, this should be good.
right? The title alone had me intrigued, something about rocking your baby to, and I'm not kidding, genius level. So naturally we got to unpack this, right? Separate the marketing magic from the actual science.
I'm all for that. Always a good idea to approach those kinds of claims with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Exactly. So the article starts off strong, citing some early studies on, well, the very basics. Does rocking even work to get babies to sleep? And it turns out,
It does. Actually, there's evidence for it.
yeah, which as a parent myself, I'm like, no surprise there. But I'm
Mhm.
curious, what's the science behind it? Is it just like a comfy, cozy feeling, or is there more to it?
It's way more than just feeling nice, actually. We're talking about deep-seated biology here. Think about a baby's first experience of the world, right? They're in the womb, constantly in motion.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so rocking might actually be tapping into that primal sense of comfort and security. There's research going back to the 70s by Barnard, actually, suggesting this very thing. 9 months of being rocked to sleep inside mom. It makes sense that it continues to be soothing after birth.
Wow, I never thought about it like that, but it makes total sense. Speaking of rocking to sleep,
Hmm.
have you ever,
Been rocked to sleep. As a fully grown adult, let's just say I plead the fifth on that one. But you bring up a good point, actually. That feeling of being gently rocked, whether it's a rocking chair or even riding on a train,
oh, for sure.
it can lull you into a sense of calm. There's something primal about it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Okay, so maybe swing to sleep is uh, exaggerating a tad with those genius level promises. But it seems like rocking does have a real impact on sleep, maybe even beyond just feeling good. But they take it a step further, claiming their specific swing is practically engineered to boost brain development. They even throw in a bunch of universities and studies for good measure. What do we make of that?
Yeah, that's where I get a little more, let's say, discerning. They cite some interesting research, don't get me wrong, but we got to unpack the details, see what these studies actually found. For example, they highlight the University of Geneva's work, saying it proves rocking makes babies smarter.
Hold on, hold on. So they're saying smarter, not just like better sleepers.
That's what they're implying, yeah. But it wasn't quite as simple as that.
So what did the Geneva researchers actually find? Because I think we all want to know if rocking equals a baby Einstein. So they're saying smarter, not just like better sleepers. What did the Geneva researchers actually find?
Well, they were really interested in the connection between rocking, sleep quality, and brain activity. And what they discovered was rocking seemed to help synchronize babies' brain waves during sleep.
Okay, got to be honest, you lost me a bit there. Brainwave synchronization. What does that even mean for a baby?
Okay, imagine a symphony orchestra. For the music to sound good, all the instruments have to be playing together, in sync, right?
Right, makes sense.
Brainwave synchronization is kind of similar. When babies sleep, their brainwaves become more organized, more rhythmic. And this seems to be really important for how they process information, how they learn. So the Geneva researchers are suggesting that rocking might actually promote this kind of healthy brainwave activity.
So it's not that rocking directly makes babies like more intelligent, but it's more about creating a more harmonious environment for their brains to develop, kind of setting the stage for better learning down the road.
Exactly. Optimizing those neural pathways, helping those little brains fire on all cylinders. And the Geneva study isn't alone in this. The article mentions research from Lausanne, Zurich, even Washington University, all looking at this connection between rocking and brain development from different angles.
Okay, so we've got universities piling on here, but you've read the research. What's the common thread? What's the key takeaway for us?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that each of these studies adds a piece to a much larger puzzle. For example, the University of Lausanne researchers, they were particularly interested in how rocking impacts sleep duration and quality.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they found that rocking actually helped babies transition into deep sleep more easily and stay asleep longer.
That's huge. I mean, any parent will tell you a well-rested baby is a happy baby, which usually translates to happier parents too.
Exactly. And while that might not equal, a sudden spike in IQ, quality sleep is absolutely crucial for a baby's overall development, no doubt about it.
Now, there was something else in this article that I thought was interesting. They were talking about horizontal versus vertical rocking. They even mentioned a study by Peterson that found horizontal rocking was more effective for soothing babies. What's the deal with that?
Ah, yes, the direction of rocking. It's not just about the motion, it seems, but also about which way the baby is being rocked. And you're right, Peterson, back in '69, was one of the first to observe that horizontal rocking seemed to have a more calming effect.
I wonder why that is.
Right. It makes you wonder if it's somehow connected to how babies are positioned in the womb, all curled up. Or maybe it's just a matter of how that rocking motion stimulates the vestibular system, which is responsible for balance.
Yeah.
There's still so much we're learning about how these tiny little bodies and brains perceive the world around them.
Makes you think, right. Okay, so it's not just about sleep. This article also touched on sensory development, claiming rocking can give babies a head start. What's the science behind that?
Well, this is where it gets even more interesting, actually. Remember how we were talking about brainwave synchronization?
Yeah, like the brain's symphony orchestra.
Exactly. Well, rocking might actually be influencing sensory processing in a similar way by helping babies organize and make sense of all the sights, sounds, sensations they're experiencing.
So instead of being totally overwhelmed by all that sensory input, rocking could help them process it in a more, organized way.
Exactly. Think of it like this. You're trying to read a book in a noisy, chaotic environment. It's hard to focus,
Well,
right?
tell me about it.
But if you find a quiet, cozy spot, suddenly your brain can relax, actually absorb the information. Rocking might be creating that same kind of calming effect, but on a baby's sensory system.
That makes a lot of sense. And the article mentioned a study from Zurich about
That's
this, right?
well,
What did they find?
right. The Zurich researchers, they were specifically looking at how rocking impacted babies' overall sensory processing abilities. And they found that rocking, especially when it was combined with other forms of sensory stimulation, seemed to really support the development of those crucial sensory pathways.
So it's almost like rocking is giving those little brains a helping hand in making sense of the world around them.
And that actually ties directly into the research from Washington University. They were exploring how rocking influences the way babies process sensory information, particularly touch. Yeah, and their findings suggested that rocking might be creating a more, let's say, organized and predictable sensory experience, which could have a huge impact on how babies learn to process tactile information.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Sleep, brainwave synchronization, sensory processing. It really seems like rocking does have some incredible benefits for those little ones.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Should we all be strapping our babies to rocking chairs 24/7?
Like with everything in parenting, balance is key. Rocking can be a fantastic tool, for sure, but it's not the only ingredient in a baby's development, right?
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What should they remember from all this fascinating research?
I'd say rocking can be a wonderful way to soothe your baby, promote better sleep, even support their developing sensory system. But it's not a magic solution, right?
Yeah.
A loving, interactive environment, plenty of tummy time, good old-fashioned play, that's all essential for a baby's growth and development.
It's about creating that rich tapestry of experiences, with rocking being one of the threads. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. We started with a bold marketing claim about rocking babies to genius level.
And we ended up exploring the complexities of sleep, brainwaves, and sensory development.
Exactly, which just goes to show there's always more to learn. Now, for our listeners who, like me, are completely fascinated by the power of rocking, here's something to think about. If it has all these benefits for babies, could it also be beneficial for older children or even adults, especially those with sensory processing sensitivities?
There's a thought.
Maybe a topic for our next deep dive. But until again, thanks for joining us on this fascinating exploration.